guys, Event Array. Today we're going to be talking about the WandaVision. It's Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. But you know, Fridays we have to talk about WandaVision. And this episode was probably the best so far. They did kind of like an Office, Parks and Recreation kind of feel where they do the interview type things where you have the cast members talking to the camera. And this one, the previous episodes, they always have that cheesy comedy. This one also had some of that cheesy comedy, but I loved it. This was probably my favorite episode so far. And it's episode 7, so we have one more episode left before the season finale. And I can definitely feel them attempting to wrap it all together. Episode 5, so I did my first 2 videos. The first video was over episode 1 and 2, and the second one was over episode 3 and 4. This is going to cover 3 episodes. It's going to be episode 5, 6, and 7. I really liked all 3 of these episodes. Spoiler warning for all 3 of those episodes, but especially episode 7, if you haven't seen that one yet. So we did get Pietro the imposter, as we find out in episode 7, who is not the real Quicksilver. And that is pretty crazy because a lot of people were like, are they bringing mutants into the MCU? Are they bringing mutants into the MCU? Which is pretty meta. So you're thinking of real life issues outside of the show, whereas the show uses that against us. We want them to bring mutants into the MCU. So we're like, yes, this is the real Quicksilver, but it's not the real Quicksilver. As far as we can tell, it was just some magic being used by Agatha Harkness, who I've never heard of Agatha. I'd like to say I'm a pretty big comic book fan, but I do focus on mostly the main heroes. I like Spider-Man, I like The Flash. Those are my favorite heroes between Marvel and DC. So I usually know a bunch of those heroes. I haven't really heard of Agatha. And I know there was a lot of theories about Mephisto, which I didn't think the MCU was going to be bringing the devil into this anytime soon, but it would have been pretty bold of them to do that. Regardless, so episode 5, we had the cliffhanger at the end with Pietro. I did like how Vision was getting more suspicious and distrustful of Wanda, and how they had that not really big fight, but they did have a confrontation. And he was like, you can't control me like you control the others. And she said, oh, can I? And then the credits roll, and I thought that was super cool, honestly. I mean, the credits roll, you can't overrule that. And then of course that leads into the Halloween episode where they're costumed up in their original costumes from the comic books, which I thought was pretty funny, as Wanda has never worn anything close to that corset looking thing in the MCU, and she probably never will. But I do like how they gave her little red crown looking headdress or whatever it is. I actually really like that thing. It makes her really unique. But yeah, the Vision's still distrustful. He lies about where he's at, and then he attempts to get out of Westview, which doesn't really go too well. And on the outside, the head of S.W.O.R.D. is doing some real shady stuff. Haywood or Hayden, whatever his name is, loser, whatever. I knew as soon as he was introduced, he was going to be bad business because, I mean, obviously he's taking the role from Monica Rambeau, so he has to have some type of friction with her as to why they acted professional, but I mean, I knew there was going to be some beef going on. That's just how TV goes. So he kicks him off the base, and then Darcy, I love Darcy. She is hilarious and very beautiful, but Darcy is pretty funny. I'm glad of her. Good for her, because she used to be an intern, I believe, in Thor, and now she has a PhD. Good for her. I mean, meeting the God of Thunder would inspire me also. So, but still, good for her as she's gotten some progression in the show. I like Darcy, but she gets stuck in the anomaly. She becomes a escape artist, and Vision finds her. He does the thing that he breaks her consciousness to where she can retain her memories again, and she doesn't trip out a lot like the other members have. But that may be just because she was only under it for like 8 hours. So there's that. Yeah, but in episode 7, you can definitely see everything's falling apart for Wanda, and I think that's that's pretty funny. And then they're like, well, isn't this what you deserve? She was like, well, you're not supposed to talk back. And that's funny because in The Office and then Parks and Rec, the cameraman never talks back. He's just there. So that was pretty funny. And then Vision was like, what am I doing talking to you? I should be going to my wife. And he just flies away. And it's just pretty funny how they did this episode. I really loved this episode. I also am curious on what they're doing with Monica Rambeau. I know that she does become some iteration of Captain Marvel in the comic books. I didn't think they were going to do that for the TV show, but I can definitely, once they said that her molecules were being rewritten, I knew that they were pushing for her to get powers. I don't know what powers those are yet, but it's pretty cool to see if she does get some more screen time, it'll be nice to have a black female hero in the MCU, because we don't really have any super powered black women. I'm thinking off of the top of my head, I'm going through, no, we have Okoye from Black Panther, but she doesn't have superpowers. So, I mean, she's just a lady with a really good warrior with a spear. She doesn't have any superpowers. We have, all of them are from the same movie too, so that doesn't really speak on much for diversity. We have Black Panther's sister, Zuri, but she's super smart, but I wouldn't say that's a superpower. She has super technology, but like I said, that's not superpowered. So, I mean, there are no black superpowered women in the MCU. And if I'm wrong, feel free to reach down to me in the comment. I hate to miss out on somebody, but I'm thinking, and I just can't think of anybody who is a black woman in the MCU. So this is actually pretty cool if they keep Monica at the front of the MCU going into phase 4. But I mean, I see this ending with her taking over the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., so she might not actually be able to do too much stuff in the field, or maybe she'll choose to stay in the field so that she gets to do more stuff. I can see it going either way. But anyways, I just had to do this quick video for you guys on the WandaVision content that's come out in the last 3 weeks, because I haven't done a video in a while. I loved this show. I know I was the first person to say it sucked, which I'd still retain that opinion. The first 2 episodes were garbage. They were trash. They should have released this whole season at once, and then you could have just pushed through that, and then you could have just kept going, because the show is only really, the pace has gone up, so it was going, and then it just shot up into the air, and the show is pretty amazing right now. I really love it. I look forward to watching it every day. First thing I did this morning was watch the show, which, to be fair, I also wanted to make a video before it got too saturated, but I wanted to do that also. I also think I'm going to do a video over Agatha Harkness, but first I'll have to do some research on that, because like I said, I've never heard of her. So we're going to both be learning together.